Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our 2021 Horsehead Central School District Youth Candidates Night for the annual election that will be on May 18th from 7 until 9 p.m. at night here at the high school with traditional in-person voting at the South Gym. Ladies and gentlemen, a newsletter will be coming out which will also explain a lot of the details. But please also go to our website for any additional information or if someone seeks an absentee ballot due to COVID-19 restrictions. Tonight, we have had 5 candidates meet all the requirements and filing timelines for being a Board of Education member for the election of 3 open seats. We have been notified by one candidate, Mrs. Catherine Menard, that due to other obligations and time commitments with Jessica Rowers, that she would be withdrawing. So at this time, there are 4 active candidates for 3 seats. Those candidates are here tonight in order as they will appear on the ballot. To my far left, Mr. Kevin Adams. Next to Mr. Kevin Adams will be Dr. Najib Raymond. Next to Dr. Raymond is Mr. Doug Johnson. And next to Mr. Doug Johnson is Miss Christine Dale, and that is the way that you will see them on the ballot. Ballot 1, 2, 3, and 4 in that order. The process for tonight is not a debate. It is a Meet the Candidates night. Tonight we will be moderated by our students from our mock trial and our debate club with our moderator, Ms. Caitlin Odell. Sorry, Caitlin. Tonight's format is there will be an opening, which we will go through the budget order, 1, 2, 3, 4, for an opening statement. We will then have a series of questions of which each candidate will have 1 minute with our timers in the middle, helping individuals to understand their time and time limits. And we understand that a minute can be a long time and it can be a short time. Please, candidates, take the time. We have about an hour and a half, and with the number of questions we have, the quicker we get through them, the quicker we're done. But also, if you can get through all the questions in a minute, I believe you should be able to get through almost every single question. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in at home, everyone coming out, and I want to thank the help of Miss Jamie Bryce Hyde and her students in both the clubs, as I get to relinquish the mic, and I don't have to do anything except come back and thank you. So, Miss Odell.
Good evening, everyone. So my name's Caitlin Odell. I'm a part of the Horsehead High School debate and mock trial team. I am a junior here at the high school, and I'm excited to be moderating. You guys may now start your opening statements. You have 2 minutes each.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Kevin Adams. I am the fiscal officer for the Chemung County Youth Bureau. And I would like to first start off by I'd like to thank Dr. Douglas for the introduction and for my colleagues who sit next to me tonight. Getting in preparation for this, I had an idea of what I wanted to say. And as I came into the auditorium tonight, and I sat there before this started, and then my mother and my grandmother followed in with me. I realized I can't help it, maybe it's a function of getting old, but memories came back of being on the stage for so many years with the drama club and with all different functions. And it was great memories. And I wish I would remember them or they would flood back to me more. Because over the last couple of years, beyond wanting to be a part of the school district and help shape the school district to be the best and what helped me, I really wanted to have a part in doing so. And then the pandemic hit. And I knew that it was going to change life, namely for my daughter, who I think about more than most. And in doing so, I saw what I could do and what I needed to be done. And that is where I am here tonight to hopefully get an opportunity to answer some questions and show you, the people and taxpayers of Horseheads Central School District, that I believe I could be the best to help guide the goals of the school district. That is all.
Hi, I'm Najib Rahman. I would like to thank the school district, Dr. Douglas, for introducing, and also for all of you coming out here. I have been a resident of Horseheads for about 20 years. Two older sons have graduated from here. My daughter is a sophomore. Last year, I decided to participate in the election, but of course, with COVID, everything. So I was elected for a one-year term last year, and the only purpose was that I see, especially with the pandemic, that with all the other members being there, that I was the only one who was with medical, field. Except actually there was one other member. So we had seen COVID from a different perspective, and that we were able to contribute in the decision making as to how the policies were shaped over the last year in regards to pandemic. And one more reason for me to participate was to bring diversity. I do not see much of the minority student population represented in the school district. I did not go to high school here in this country, so I definitely have a very different perspective of high school education overall. But children have gone through here, and I think me being part of the team would serve a good purpose to blend in some of the other perspectives that may not be much noticeable if you are just from within the same community. So I think I probably would represent the rest of the minorities in the school district.
Good evening. My name is Doug Johnson. Before I get started, I'd like to thank Mrs. Bryce Hyde and the Mock Trial and Debate Club for facilitating tonight's forum. We've lived in the district for 18 years. I've been married for 29 years to my lovely wife, Ada. We've had 6 Blue Raiders come through and still at the house. Madison, class of 11. Chloe, class of 14. Liam, class of 16. Cade, class of 19. And then we currently have Elise who's a junior, and Sophia, who's in 8th grade. We've had a Mark Twain Scholar. We've had students with special needs in our home, 3 kids in advanced art studies, student athletes, and heavily involved in the music program. My family and I have been involved in a wide array of community activities, such as Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, Horseheads Thrashers, Big Flats Little League, Big Flats Youth Basketball, Special Olympics, Big Flats Horseheads Cinderella Softball, parent-teacher organizations, and the Elmira Gymnastics Club. I've worked in education for 26 years and 23 years as an attorney. I worked for the New York State School Boards Association for 8 years, providing policy, employee relations, and superintendent search services, and wrote a few books while I was there. I've been a human resources labor relations specialist, a professional for 18 years. I have a certificate in advanced studies in educational administration from SUNY Brockport. I've been on the Horseheads School Board for 9 years now. Been on the policy committee all 9 of those years, 8 years as the chair of the committee. Also served on finance, planning, development, curriculum and assessment, Horseheads implementation team, educational impact study team, and I've had near 100% attendance at all board and committee meetings. We've done a lot in my time. We're overhauling the curriculum, passing the budget by comfortable margins, doing various studies to save money, and passed a $100 million bond vote.
Good evening. My name is Christine Dale, and I'm running for re-election this year. I would like to thank everybody who's in attendance tonight and everybody who had submitted a question ahead of time. And I'm so excited that we actually have the students involved in this year's candidate forum. So thank you very much. I think it's a great addition, and I hope we are able to continue that. I have lived in Horseheads for the past 17 years. My husband and I have 3 boys, 2 of which have already graduated from Horseheads, and the third is in the class of 2024. I am a program director for Corning Incorporated. I have served on the board for the last 6 years, and during that time I have served on various committees, chaired the audit committee, and have been vice president. Currently I am the president of the board. When I first ran for the board, I was running because I had a passion to get involved and make a difference. I wanted to learn how the district operates and felt like my background in the corporate environment would bring a different perspective to the board. I am running for a 3rd term because I still have a passion to stay involved and make a difference. I think it is very important to have a variety of backgrounds on the board. I have seen so many improvements happen over the past 6 years, but there is still more to do. Because of the pandemic, this year has been extremely challenging for everyone. I have been objective and have always listened to all concerns to address the needs of the district. One thing that I have come to learn over the past 6 years is that we have an incredible staff that has risen to every challenge. We have great families that have been so patient and flexible, and we have wonderful students who continue to excel. I've been proud to represent our district as a board member, and I welcome the opportunity to continue. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. So we will now start with the questions that have been submitted. Our first question is, why are you interested in running for school board, and what qualifications and/or experiences make you an ideal candidate for the Horseheads Board of Education? You all have 1 minute each.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Odell. My daughter, Lily, the person who I will talk about more than I probably talk about to her. So I owe her an apology and an ice cream after this. But that's where my heart is, and that is what comes to every day. If it's not working for the Chemung County Youth Bureau as a fiscal officer for 13 years, trying to make the lives of all kids in our county better. It's over this last 9 months where I've been working on special assignment for the health department, helping coordinate IT functions for all vaccination clinics, and seeing everything that we have to do and wanting to apply what my heart, experience, and education can be here for the school district.
Thanks, Ms. Odell. As I said before, my experience has been in medical field. I have been the president of Chemung County Medical Society, have been on various committees and other boards, even nonprofit boards. So that experience definitely helps me to participate as a team member with the school district. But my other passion was that to bring diversity into the management so that we can help the school district achieve the vision that they want, so we can bring enrichment and improvement in our classrooms.
Thank you. Mr. Dale. Or Mr. Johnson, excuse me.
Thank you. I think in my whirlwind opening statement, I forgot to mention that I work for Greater Southern Tier BOCES as Director of Employee Relations. I've worked there for 18 years. And I also have the educational background for educational administration, as I mentioned before. So those are some of my qualifications in addition to my number of years on the board. Also, this year has been unlike any other, of course. Early last summer, I was appointed as the COVID-19 Safety Coordinator for BOCES, which means I'm deeply involved in state guidance, federal guidance, reviewing that, everything that comes out, and applying that to BOCES. So in addition to, ensuring that we continue on our construction project and curriculum improvement, that I have that experience in, I'd like to continue overseeing that from the board perspective.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Ms. Dale.
So I can honestly say my time over the past 6 years, I have loved every single minute of it, even during the challenging times. It's something that I continue to learn all the time. I am clearly not an expert in all aspects, but I'm willing to learn and I'm willing to continue to listen. My background, I have a very strong background in process improvement, but one of the things that I'm most proud of is as a Corning employee, I am the main liaison between Corning and United Way. And working with United Way has really given me the opportunity to see the needs that we have in our local communities, particularly in childhood education, in pre-childhood education. And so I have a huge passion around that, and I just really feel that there's just so much more that we can do as a district, and I welcome that opportunity. And like I said, I love every minute of it. You know, the hard board meetings, the criticism, and then also, you know, the excitement that I see, you know, when the students come back to the school and they see the amazing things that we've done to make enhancements. So I just want to continue that.
Thank you, Ms. Dale. And thank you, candidates. For our next question, should board members use their positions for personal benefit for themselves, their children, or their friends? Mr. Raymond?
I think it's probably 1 minute will be too long. It's no. This is certainly absolutely no.
Well, thank you. Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, Dr. Raymond's completely right. Yeah, we should not use our positions for that purpose. The only thing our children should do in terms of our involvement with the school board is give us the passion and perhaps some of the background and information that we need to make good decisions based on other school district data that's brought forward and the recommendations of the administration.
100% agree. I think Dr. Raymond said it best. Absolutely not. You know, my kids and my family and my friends have all know not even to ask me anything related to the board. You know, it's really important. There's a big separation between being a board member and then being a parent, being a community member. So, you know, there's really, you know, we definitely should not use that position to gain any sort of benefit.
Without a doubt, no. I reflect over my time here at Horseheads, and I can't tell you once when a board member ever influenced anything in my education. And I certainly hold myself and my daughter to that same standard. And being able to be objective and impartial, I believe, is the only way we can go forward and help craft a message and strategy at a macro level for everybody.
Thank you, candidates. For next question, COVID-19 continues to be a concern. What are your thoughts on the pandemic in regard to education, and when do you see a potential end to mask wearing requirements in our schools? Mr. Adams. Oh, Mr. Johnson.
Well, I could bore you all day with COVID-19 information. That's pretty much my job nowadays. But I'm hopeful that September will bring a different kind of school year for us. I'm not 100% convinced it will. But the mask wearing, in my opinion, is going to continue as long as the CDC and the New York State Department of Health say so. They've got the experts at their level that know what they're doing, and we are not experts in epidemiology and related fields in terms of containment. As soon as those guidance or mandates go away, I'll be happy to endorse a plan that would remove that requirement with, of course, any students wishing to continue to wear them. Certainly feel free. But I'm very much looking forward to a school year next year that's in person 5 days a week to the best of our ability.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Ms. Dale?
So obviously, COVID has had a big impact on our district and on our families and on our students. And, you know, I've always been of the position that we need to continue to follow guidance, and we need to continue to, encourage our entire community to follow that guidance. So, I have no idea on what's going to happen with the masks. My personal opinion is, at the end of the day, if wearing a mask enables us all to be together and be able to resume some sort of a normalcy, then it's not hard to do. Let's just do it. But I'm hopeful that we'll get to the point that we don't have to wear masks. But my first priority is hopefully getting us to the point where we can resume a normal school environment come September.
Thank you, Ms.
Even if masks are still necessary.
Thank you, Ms. Dale. Mr. Adams.
I would be interested in talking to Mr. Johnson about regulation, as every day we spend it at the health department discussing it, and it seems to come from the state at a moment's notice and sometimes retroactively. What I mean and what I think needs to happen and what I see for the school district is planning. And what I've done all this time since the pandemic at working with the county is contingency planning, because you don't know when things will change. You don't know when the mask requirement will be dropped. You follow what the state says, and they will give you not that much time. And the only way to be prepared for it is with contingency planning and multiple plans that you may never use. But you know that one day, that when that guidance does come down from the state, you're the best prepared for it.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Mr. Raymond?
Yeah, I think this past year has definitely been challenging, but also we have learned a lot. I think in regards to the masks and other requirements, this is going to be, I think, probably a moving goal for us as the new variants of the virus comes up. So I think we have to look up to what the CDC has to say, and also look up what the state Department of Health has to issue. So I think depending upon what those directions are, that's how we will move. And we definitely feel, what the students are feeling. They want to be back into what their normal routine, but we certainly are concerned about their health. We are concerned about their mental health. So we have to see what also comply with the policies. So it's a very fine line that we have learned to walk. But as Kevin said, probably contingency planning would be a good resource to have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Raymond. Thank you, candidates. What is your plan for the Board of Education recovering from the impact of the pandemic for our staff, students, and community? Ms. Dale?
I think we just need to work together. We need to listen to each other. We need to be open to the needs that we all have, and we need to work together. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy for our students coming back, especially those that have been on remote this entire time. Fortunately, I'm happy that as part of the budget proposal is the addition of 4 teaching assistants to be able to help with that when we come back in September if it gets approved. But I think we need to be patient with each other, and we need to just communicate our needs. And I've said all along is we can't be critical. Everybody is struggling. Everybody has their ups and their downs. But the criticism does not help anybody. So we need to rise each other up versus pull each other down.
Thank you, Ms. Dale. Mr. Adams?
It's a plan. It's planning for what life will be like with reintegration. It will be what my daughter, what your sons have to deal with coming back to school that have not set foot for this long. It's an increase in personnel, whether contract or personnel directly, for emotional and mental health services. This is not going to be easy. And when we get rid of the masks, that's only one step. But more importantly, the toll that this has taken and will take once life returns back to normal has to be planned for, and that can only be done, in my opinion, with additional staff specific to mental and emotional health.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Mr. Raymond?
Yeah, I totally agree with what Kevin has said, that we definitely will need more personnel in regards to both teaching and definitely from mental health standpoint. And I think having a discussion, a dialogue, there are very different opinions that everyone has. And as I have served on other boards, this is always a very fine line that we have to walk in regards to what the expectation is from the public and what exactly is required of us from the higher authorities. And so we have to kind of, cooperate, collaborate, discuss, and have a dialogue in regards to moving forward as to what will be in the best interest of our children.
Thank you, Mr. Raymond. Mr. Johnson.
So it starts with the teaching assistants that we added to the budget for this year, and in particular for the 4 teaching assistants that I pushed for first on the board to that we need those in all 4 of our elementary schools. That is, will help with academic regression during this time period. Also, the mental health has been mentioned, and I pushed a year or 2 ago for 4 social workers in all of our elementary, among our 4 elementary buildings. We're going to need them. We're going to need to have all hands on deck. I want to see the district conduct a survey of parents with regard to the mental health of their children, because I think we have a pretty good idea on the academics. I don't think we have any idea what's going on with the mental health of our children. And lastly, we need listen to our teachers, give them the time and professional development they need to help our children.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Thank you, candidates. The federal level of government has proposed a new rule to prioritize funding for schools to use anti-racial teaching curriculum, for example, critical race theory and 1619 New York Times project. What are your thoughts on these potential federal educational initiatives? Mr. Adams.
I want to say, and I want to continue that to my incumbents to the left of me, I have the least amount of experience with curriculum and curriculum development. What I do bring and what I do commit to the Horsehead Central School District is a willingness to listen. I, as a parent, have personal feelings about those curriculums that are irrelevant to my decision as a board member. It is what I will continue to do in talking to teachers, to educators, and to the administration that will form my opinion on that. And it will be a consensus decision of what I will make when I vote for curriculum such as that.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Mr. Raymond?
I see that again. In regards to the curriculum development, I'm a novice. I've only been 1 year on the board, but definitely I see that from racial, point of view, that both the curriculum and the teachers have to be also, have to be trained in that respect. So I hopefully, looking forward to having that kind of a dialogue, that kind of a development of curriculum, both for the students as well as for the teachers, so that we prepare our students as well as the teachers in regards to dealing with those race issues.
Thank you, Mr. Raymond. Mr. Johnson?
So it's pretty rare that the federal government ever makes a mandate on actual curriculum. More likely that's where the state would step in. And of course, if the state does mandate that, we would absolutely have to follow that. In terms of whether we should or not, our students need to be exposed to the good things of American history. They need to be exposed to the evils that have happened during American history. And if that's critical race theory, if that's 1619, or any other problem that needs to be exposed, our students need to be exposed to that. They're not going to be well-educated, well-rounded students without it. But we also need to respect teachers' academic freedom in the classroom to cover those subjects that they feel are most important for their students. And the curriculum ultimately, of course, could be decided by the board, but I favor teacher flexibility at that level.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Ms. Dale?
I am not an expert in curriculum development, and I will always default to our educators in the classrooms who are. And so, as a board member, I will support those recommendations, and if whatever our teachers feel is appropriate to convey within the classroom, then I think I will default to that. I do think it's important for us to learn from history and learn what we shouldn't repeat and what we should maybe celebrate. As a district, I'd like to see us continue to encourage our students to be more inclusive, to develop programs and clubs or support groups to be able to, work together to, I don't want to say battle, but to enhance learnings and to be able to express their concerns or their feelings on certain topics.
Thank you, Ms. Dale. Thank you, candidates. What are your thoughts regarding learning loss or the learning gap? How do you feel is the best way to recover from the pandemic to retain a semblance of normalcy? Mr. Raymond?
Well, I think as we have talked about it, this pandemic has set a challenge. I think there is going to the learning gap or the learning loss. We'll have to learn how to, cope with that. But again, I believe that having more enriched time in the classroom, I think that probably will be a key. Having more staff, available, as Doug and Kristen has said, that we have, now possibly 4 more teacher assistants available. So I think that definitely will help. And we have to come up with more, I think, ingenious ways to figure out how we can help the students who have had this loss the most. So how we can help them recoup that learning time.
Thank you, Mr. Raymond. Mr. Johnson?
Well, it's going to be more critical than ever that we implement fully and have robust response to intervention programs and academic intervention services programs in the schools to find those gaps and to then appropriately meet them with additional instructional time. So again, we're going to need staff to implement that. We're going to need additional time, perhaps, within the school day. We're going to need professional development for teachers and staff to implement because we've never come across this type of a learning gap before in the schools. And so we're going to need the best minds possible. And then I'm going to want to hear from our Educational Association, our Teachers Association, to what their thoughts are on what the best steps and approaches would be.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Ms. Dale?
I'm kind of torn on this. I don't really like using the word loss and gap. To me, it seems too negative. And, yes, do we have concerns as students come back and have they learned as much this year as maybe they could have or they should have? But I think we're selling our students short. I think we need to look at where they have enhanced their skills. Our students have become extremely adaptable over the past 12 months. They've learned to navigate multiple computer screens, cameras, different platforms of technology. They've learned to collaborate in a virtual environment. And I think that's pretty impressive. I think those are skills that they will continue to take along with them. I'm sure that there are areas that we will have to continue to enhance, and we'll be able to assess that when all of our students are back next year. But I don't think it's all negative. I think there are some positives that have happened this year in respect to learning.
Thank you, Ms. Dale. Mr. Adams?
Well, I disagree with Ms. Dale. I have seen nothing but loss. There by no means have been anything that we could come from this saying that positive gains were made. Teaching kids how to use a virtual learning environment is not a gain for what they had to do in their development as becoming good citizens. The one thing, and I won't make an assumption, that I would expect the incumbents to have would be a plan and talk about this. What is the Horsehead Central School District doing? What is the plan coming up in September or when life can return back to normal? I would hope that we would have those examples that could be shared tonight, and I promise that when I am elected, that will be one of the first questions that I ask.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Thank you, candidates. How are you educating yourself on the issues that are most important to the district and school community? Mr. Johnson.
Well, that's pretty much my job every day. We get a lot of information from the school district itself, financial information, policy information, uh, business and contract information. That's all important, and we need to keep our eyes on. On top of that, I teach school law. I teach financial and human resources for SUNY Brockport. So I'm very conversant with those. As I mentioned, I'm the COVID-19 safety coordinator for BOE, so I have all that background as well. I have employment background, and so I'm familiar with a lot of the employment issues that come up here and how to deal with them. And I have to keep up with all the information on COVID, as I mentioned before. So it's pretty much my life 24/7.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Ms. Dale?
So formally, I stay on top of what comes down from NYSBA, the New York State School Boards Association. So, reading the newsletters, looking at things online, attending conferences, attending classes when I can. Informally, I rely on my relationships. I rely on listening. I ask questions. A lot of my friends are teachers, whether they're in the district or outside the district. And so I'm asking questions, and I'm listening to the concerns and the challenges that are out there. I also listen to my son and his friends. They have a lot to say, and they have a lot of ideas. And so, just asking questions in the community and just listening to what people have to say, and then taking that into consideration as we are providing recommendations and making decisions as a board.
Thank you, Ms. Dale. Mr. Adams?
Asking the question, how's it going? Very simple, open-ended question that provides a lot of value. Being accessible, being accountable. Asking teachers, asking support staff, asking students, asking stakeholders of the school district is how I will know what's going on. That combined with much reading that has been a challenge and a benefit in taking on this task, to be able to merge the academic side and the personal side of everybody who has to come to school here every day and try to make the best decision for them as a macro aggregate decision-making body.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Mr. Raymond?
Yes, I have been previously on the school board for Montessori for 4 years. I've been, as I said, the president of the Chemung County Medical Society. So I do not have a lot of direct education experience, but I have served, again, as said, on the school board, of Montessori School Board. And also, I think the main source for me is our constituents, the residents, the community. So I think they need to be heard, what their concerns are. And certainly from our students, my daughter goes to this school. So definitely hearing from them as to what their issues are. And then definitely from teachers and the staff, that what they think needs to be done. So putting all this together, I think working as a team to resolve all these issues, I think I have learned it in the last 1 year, and seems that going forward would be the way.
Thank you, Mr. Raymond. Thank you, candidates. Please identify one issue or area where you think the board has done well in the recent past. Also describe one issue or area that you think should have been handled differently, and also discuss what you would have done to address it better. Ms. Dale.
So since my time on the board, I think as a board, we are becoming better at communicating with each other and communicating when we are feeling uncomfortable about something. I also am very, very proud as a board of what we've accomplished during this pandemic. Well, I'm very proud as a district of what we've accomplished. It has not been easy. This has been territory that none of us have been down before. And, yes, have mistakes been made? Absolutely. But we have come a long way in the past year, especially with all the changing guidance that has happened continuously. An area that I think we can improve is I think we need to continue to look for opportunities to engage our community more in getting their input. there's a big distinction, though, is that, you know, our community are not the decision makers when it comes to how we operate the district, but how can we get more input in making those decisions. So.
Thank you, Ms. Dale. Mr. Adams.
Well, the first thing that I'm in absolute awe of the board and the school district of is the 2030 capital improvement project and everything that's going on with the much necessary renovations and upgrades to the school district. What I feel that the school district or the board has done not so well is in its communication and in its planning for the pandemic response for our kids. I believe in my conversations and my firsthand account as being a parent at the school district, there were mistakes made in waiting for preparing for what New York State guidance would be and how that would transform the classroom and the learning environment for our kids, and that what is vitally necessary is contingency planning so that when that date did come for guidance and how September would start, that there would be better preparation and a better response.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Mr. Raymond.
Well, I think in the last 1 year that I have seen, I think, again, this was unprecedented. It was a challenge, and I think, at least from my experience, it has been that Dr. Douglas and the staff and the school district has done very well, handled the situation. Yes, there are going to be difference of opinion. People will perceive it differently out there. But I think I have realized that there are some mandates from the state that we had to comply with. There are some CDC guidelines. So that may be at odds with sometimes what individual will think. So I think, going forward, communication, again, certainly, can always be improved on. And we have learned some of our, lessons from our this experience in this year. And I hope things will change. Definitely for the better, and our experience this past year will help us and guide us going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Raymond. Mr. Johnson.
So a couple things we've done well is the budget we've passed. It's not the most exciting thing we do, but it provides the backbone and support for everything we do here for all the staff and all the supplies and everything that makes this place run. We've passed by wide margins every year I've been on the board, and overall, over my time on the board, we've reduced the tax rate. Also, the $100 million construction bond that we passed was a big milestone, and obviously it's having huge effects on our school district. Some things I wish we'd done differently. We used to have a staff, parent, district-wide shared decision-making team. I think we miss that input from from staff. And parents, actually students were on the team too. We need to hear from them. Another thing is the excessive non-mandatory quarantining that was done during this past year that resulted in district-wide closures. We needed to stick with mandatory quarantining.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson, and thank you, candidates. The Board of Education has received questions and comments that parents should be making decisions about instruction, graduation, athletics, and other items via surveys. How would you, as a member of the board, address this type of request? Mr. Adams.
Surveying is a great tool, and it is a tool, and it is one tool. The other, in terms of being a school board member, it's being accessible. It's being there and always having your ear to the ground and talking to the parents. And in this case, as my mother sits here, the grandparents, stakeholders. And to be able to do so is necessary. Being able to make decisions that won't please everyone, I think, comes with the territory. But being able to make a decision while being able to look at fellow board members and yourself only can come when you get all sides of the coin and all sides of the issue. And that's how I feel we need to be able to better make decisions at what can be made at a district level.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Mr. Raymond.
Yeah, I think definitely having the input from the community on one-to-one basis definitely will help us see what the individual families feel or they expect and what their issues are. But I think on the whole, definitely survey gives us a much macroscopic gauge of as to what overall people think that we need to be doing, ought to be doing, what we are doing good or what we are not doing good. I think that gives us a much better perspective in gauging as to what our next steps should be.
Thank you, Mr. Raymond. Mr. Johnson.
Could you actually repeat the question for me, please? Thank you.
The Board of Education has received questions, comments that parents should be making decisions about instruction, graduation, athletics, and other items via surveys. How would you, as a member of the board, address this type of request?
Thank you. So the parent surveys were an important part of the initial reopening plan that was developed over the summer, and I think they were critical to understanding what our parents wanted. The district is excellent in communication. We push out a lot of information to parents, to students, to the community. What we could have done better this year is engage the parents more through surveying, because as things changed during the pandemic, what we didn't see is a reach out from the district to get more information from parents. And of course, that goes goes perhaps without saying, maybe, well, I'm going to say it. Once we get those results, we need to listen to them. These are our parents, taxpayers, this is our community. We should go and try and maintain what the community and what the parents want to the best of our ability.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Ms. Dale.
So I think getting input from parents in our community is important to help provide some data as decisions are being made. But there's a difference. You know, our administrators, they are experts in their field, and it's their role to make decisions for our district with the input from others. I think sometimes some of our community members and parents, and I know this isn't going to make me popular right now, but I think sometimes they feel like they are the decision makers. And lots of the feedback that we get is based on emotion. And our administrative team and even those of us who serve on the board, we have to look at the big picture, and we have to look at all the variables to the equation prior to making a decision. And input from the community and input from the parents is just one of those variables that go into that equation.
Thank you, Ms. Dale. Thank you, candidates. As a member of the Board of Education, where do you believe the district should head over the next 5 years? Mr. Raymond.
Well, I think this past year's experience tells us that we need to have a contingent plan as to how we're going to improve if this kind of a situation continues to affect us in the next coming years. How we can improve our electronic accessibility for all the children, for all the families, and how we can accommodate our curriculum changes that may need to be addressed so that we do not fall into same kind of a learning gap or a learning loss, whatever we want to call it. So I think that probably would be my first priority, that for the next 5 years we need to be ready to deal with this kind of issues if it continues to be a prolonged pandemic.
Thank you, Mr. Raymond. Mr. Johnson.
So two main things. Number one, where we had to pause our curriculum development this year a little bit. We're working on English language arts, and this is a critical area for the school district. We are a Beacon Lighthouse school district for this area. We are generally at or near the top of all of testing and academic rankings for our area. But in order to stay there, our curriculum needs to keep up with it, and we have a administrative and a staff-led curriculum development that's happening right now that will help ensure that Horseheads has the best education in this area. And our construction project has been very noticeable at the high school, somewhat noticeable at the middle school, but we need to pass that next bond so that our elementary schools are also brought up to snuff.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Ms. Dale.
One of the first things I think we need to do is once we are back to a more normal environment, we need to do a lessons learned, and we need to really understand and document what did we learn through this pandemic and what can we do differently if this were to happen again. But then I also think we need to go back to where we were prior to the pandemic, and we need to continue on that curriculum development. We had made great progress there, and we need to continue that along with our professional development. And then I'm just very excited about the progress we made on the capital improvement project and what's to come. And there's a lot of exciting opportunities as we move forward in the next 5 years to continue with those capital improvements. So that's a focus area for us.
Thank you, Ms. Dale. Mr. Adams.
What does anyone do after they've experienced a tragedy? They start planning 1 minute to the next, then 1 hour, 1 day, 1 week. By no means do I want to sugarcoat what we've gone through and what we are going through. The 5-year plan is an advantageous venture with so many changes that are to come very short term. Planning for what tomorrow is, if that 5 years is to start today, then what are those plans? What are we planning for? What are our goals? And are they reasonable to what it can be? To hopefully think that 5 years we can return back to normal sounds great, but I don't want to just go back to normal. I want to go back to something improved and something that we can all stand behind. But I think first we have to walk before we can look that far down the future, and I would be interested in knowing what those strategic plans are starting today.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Thank you, candidates. Describe your view of the roles of the school board and the superintendent. What is the ideal relationship between these two offices? Mr. Johnson.
The school board is the legislature, so to speak, of the school district. We establish policy, direction, fiscal priorities through the budget, and the administration, the superintendent, is there for the day-to-day running of the school district. Obviously, with monthly meetings, the board can't make every decision, nor should we. We should avoid micromanaging, allow the administration to do their job, report back to us, and help guide the vision and the mission of the district. And the ideal relationship is when that works in perfect harmony, where the board doesn't micromanage, and where the administration superintendent doesn't overtake the mission, policies, and goals of the district.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Ms. Dale.
Can I just say ditto? No, the board, we are responsible for the fiscal management of the district and for setting policy and for ensuring that we have an administrator who then will develop his or her team to operate the district. We, as a board, do not get involved in the day-to-day operations. Now, it doesn't mean that the administrative team won't ask for advice or ask for guidance. I think, over the past several years, we've had a really good two-way dialogue and open communication where the administrative team openly communicates to us and we're able to provide feedback. But at the end of the day, it's the administrative team that runs the day-to-day operations, not the board.
Thank you, Ms. Dale. Mr. Adams.
The school board is elected by the people, and the people run the school district. We represent the people, and we are the voice of the people. If the most easy way, how I see it, is that there is a boss to employee relationship, and that the school board is in charge of the administration and are ultimately responsible for those high-level strategic goals that are set, and trusting that the administration and all of its employees help carry out and all work towards the same way. That being said, I do agree with major levels of autonomy, but at the end of the day, it is the school board who is responsible and is the voice of the people and is ultimately responsible for the actions of all the employees of the school district.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Mr. Raymond.
Yeah, I see this as a ship. I think if Dr. Douglas is the captain, he has all the team working for him, And I think the board, I will see it as a rudder. It gives a guidance, but there has to be a direct connection and communication between the rudder and the captain. It won't function otherwise. So I think that yes, we are elected by the public, by the constituents of a school district, and we have to help the administration to run as smoothly as possible, and give them guidance and make sure that whatever needs to be done for the people should be done by the administration. So that we have become hand in hand, working with them, try to resolve the issues.
Thank you, Mr. Raymond. Thank you, candidates. How do you plan to blend and/or balance local, state, and/or federal control of education issues and mandates? For example, COVID-19 regulations, state testing, financial supports, etc. Ms. Dale.
So I think at the end of the day, I'm going to focus more on the state testing. I am not opposed to state testing, but I don't necessarily agree with how state testing is used. I think it's a good measure to be able to understand where we might have some gaps. What I don't like is that it is used to evaluate our teachers. And I'm just going to cite an example. So one of my sons struggled very, very much in math. And he had an amazing math teacher when he was in middle school. But he was always going to score a 1 or a 2 on the state test. And it was heartbreaking to me to think that his teacher could potentially be penalized because of what he would get on his state test. And so I don't agree with that. But I think it is important for our children to learn how to take tests like that, because throughout their life, they're going to have many times where they're going to have to take standardized type of tests, whether it's in college or it's in the business environment or whatever their future role is in life. Sorry, I'm out of time.
Thank you, Ms. Dale.
Too much in one question.
Mr. Adams.
We're going to be upfront and honest with it. We don't get a say when an executive order comes down and we have to follow it. There's too many consequences to say no to that. But we do have a responsibility as the board, and I deal with it every day at the county, overseeing people that really struggle in trying to communicate what we can and cannot control. And I, too, have a daughter who is failing certain subjects right now in 6th grade. And every time that I approach work or try to do anything with her teachers, it is an amazement. And my daughter has that same amazement towards those teachers. So we can't use test scores to be evaluating teachers, because these teachers have been phenomenal, and my daughter would be much worse off if she didn't have them. And she's not doing that great. So we need to come up with comprehensive ways of properly assessing our teachers and being open and honest with what we're beholden to do because of New York State.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Mr. Raymond.
Yeah, again, I think the state mandates are what we have to follow, but I echo the same, that the teachers are not to be held responsible for individual failure of students. I think that's where probably we need to focus as to how we can overcome this issue, and how we can work together both as parents, teachers, and administration, along with the board, to how we can make sure that wherever there are gaps, wherever we see the failing student, or wherever there is a challenge, we can overcome by increasing the instructional time, or in any other way, or electronic media, what way, so we make sure that those gaps are filled. So I think that probably will help us overcome this gap, but certainly we have certain mandates from the state that we have to follow.
Thank you, Mr. Raymond. Mr. Johnson.
So I'm a 100% proponent of local control over education. The school board, parents, teachers, administrators, locally, we should make the decisions on what we do. Unfortunately, that is not the environment that we live in. We are subject, as a creature of the state, to state mandates, federal mandates, etc. What we need to do is comply the best we can, but find where we can, where there is flexibility, that we express what's best for Horseheads and what's best for our students, parents, teachers, and staff. And with regard to state testing, an example of that is at BOCES. We've had special education teachers who get a developing score on their APPR testing evaluation, and it's due to just a low number of students that are taking the test. What we've done is put something in the teacher's personnel file that says that developing does not reflect the BOCES determination that is just as a result of a low number of students taking the test.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Thank you, candidates. Please describe any activities, programs, educational strategies that you would champion as a member of the Horseheads Board of Education. Mr. Adams.
As an alumni from Horseheads, I will try not to be too prejudiced with my own background. It's arts and music. It's gifted and talented programs. You asked the question, would we use our position to better our kids' fate in the school district? It would be my hope and dream that someday my daughter finds something that excites her with the wealth of clubs that are offered here. But if not, I will be proud to be able to be helping, championing all the extracurriculars that Horseheads has become so rich in. Even if she doesn't do any, I want an opportunity for kids and youth to be able to have the same memories and experiences, hopefully one day sitting up here, maybe even running against me someday for a school board.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Mr. Raymond.
Hi, Mr. Dell, can you please repeat the question?
Of course. Please describe any activities, programs, educational strategies that you would champion as a member of the Horseheads Board of Education.
Yeah, I think giving our children an enriched experience in the school is always a dream of every parent. So I think there is just no question about it that that is very essential for our success as a school district, so that we stay ahead and even progress and get better. In as to which programs, that certainly will be the question as to what generally the Horseheads districts of a community, what they need. That's what we need to focus, and hopefully, definitely, I will be in all full support of whatever needs to be done to increase this experience, this enrichment for our students in whichever way, whichever club, whichever debate.
To our students with disabilities, that they can participate, they can compete, and have fun, and share their joy with the rest of us.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Ms. Dale.
I think it's very important to have a well-rounded, balanced environment, and that's a combination of clubs and arts and music and athletics. I think it's also important to continue to be creative in the classes that we offer. One of the things that I love about Horseheads is our block scheduling and the ability to have so many different creative classes that our students could try prior to going to college and determining what field they want to go into. But my real passion is the Unified program. I just spent an hour with them this afternoon, and every time I am with anybody involved with that Unified program, it brings tears to my eyes. And I love the whole premise behind it about inclusion and acceptance of all students. And I think that is so important, and for us to continue to explore other opportunities and other clubs that continue to make all students feel like they have a place to go and that they are accepted.
Thank you, Ms. Dale. And thank you, candidates. At this time, we will move on to your closing statements. We will be going in reverse order from Ms. Dale to Mr. Adams. You will each have 1 minute. Ms. Dale.
Okay, so anybody who knows me or has listened to me during board meetings should know that I do not have any hidden agendas. I truly want what's best for this district. I will continue to be objective in making decisions and listening to all different perspectives. This year has been really hard for me because I've heard so much negativity in the community, and it's broken my heart, particularly when I see the criticism about the quality of education, or I see the criticism on teachers. And you know, our teachers and our staff, they've been jumping through hoops every single day for over a year. And unless you are here and you're able to see that firsthand, the majority of our community don't realize that. And I want to continue to promote that. I want to continue to support that. And there's just so much more that we can do. And I just really want the opportunity to continue to serve on this board. It's been so rewarding and one of the best things I've ever done in my life.
Thank you, Ms. Dale. Mr. Johnson.
So I want to thank again Ms. Bryce Hyde and the Mock Trial and Debate Club for facilitating this forum. When I was in high school, that debate club was my dorky passion, so these are my peeps, I think, up here. I really appreciate what you're doing. Listen, first of all, I'm a parent in this district. I'm a special education parent, I'm an arts parent, a sports parent, and a music parent, and I believe in the 3 A's that I just talked about. And my record has shown that I will protect and expand these programs in the future. Number 2, I'm part of this community. I'm involved in it. I'm proud to call Horseheads home. We've made good, judicious decisions on our finances in the future, and I want to continue helping the district make those decisions. And lastly, nobody brings the background that I have in terms of board experience, being an attorney, a human relations professional. And with everything going on right now, now's not the time for inexperience or lesser qualifications.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Raymond.
Yeah, I think I have been a resident, and as I said before, I do bring a diverse opinion and different opinion. And I think that probably will serve our community. I certainly am always open and willing to listen, and I think the community needs to be heard. So I will fully support that that all stakeholders need to be listened to. They need to have, again, as a survey or whatever, so we can have a better understanding of as to what the collective needs are for and I would definitely support in each and every way that's possible to increase the experience that our children will have, both academically and health-wise, mental health, and their sports and athletics, and as well as their other enrichment through music. I certainly will support all that with all my heart and passion.
Thank you, Mr. Raymond. Mr. Adams.
Accessible and accountable. On May 18th, you'll pick who you think should be part of the Horseheads Central School District Board. We talked about experience today. I ask you'll have to make the decision on what experience you want to vote for. I've been in this town, in this school district, in this village of Horseheads for 33 years. I was born here. I went to school from pre-K to 12 here, and I will be doing everything from today on, not just after May 18th, to be accessible to the voters. KevinDAdams.com is up and going. It is a forum where I put my issues, where I put what I do, and where I can get contact with the voters. Please go to my website, and please note that I agree with Mr. Johnson. This isn't a time for less qualified people, and we need involvement, and that is me.
Thank you, Mr. Adams, and thank you, candidates. At this time, that concludes our forum discussion. Big round of applause for the candidates up here. And now I'm turning it over to Dr. Douglas.
Thank you, Ms. O'Dell. Ladies, thank you as well on behalf of the district, our Board of Education. I know the candidates up here. A big round of applause for our moderators and our timekeepers. Well, at least that's over, right? Timekeepers, you should have done the presidential debate. You were wonderful because we're 15 minutes early, and that's great. So I won't take up that time. I do want to thank each of the candidates as well. I know this isn't easy, especially for a voluntary service role for the community, which has the highest compensation of all in these roles for Board of Education. So we appreciate you all at least offering up your service. As the rest of the public knows, our vote for the annual election is on May 18th. It will be in the South Gym of the high school. It will be from 7 o'clock in the morning until 9 o'clock at night. There are 3 seats up for election. They are all at-large bids with our 4 individuals here, and the public can vote for up to 3 individuals. We ask everybody, please reach out to your friends and neighbors. Please participate in one of democracy's greatest part is our vote. We ask you, if you have a concern about COVID-19 or absentee ballots, you would contact the district office and ask for Ms. Terry Clark, and she will walk you through the process. But that is time-bound, so please pay attention to it. You can also find our information on our website so that if anybody has any questions, just for the public and for the board candidates, our budget is roughly around $84 million. It is an increase from year over the year by about 4%. That's just the budget. That has nothing to do with the tax levy or the tax rate. The tax levy on this budget is a negative 0.5253%, which means the amount of tax levy for the district is going to be collected at a lesser rate. Taxes are going down. What it means in an estimate, most conservative approach, so our candidates know as well when they're out there talking, is that estimated by our wonderful business administrator, Ms. Katie Bizzetti, based on the information we have from the county right now, is that the most conservative, this budget, if it were approved, would equal a $0 increase per $100,000 budget. Also, it could be a negative $37 decrease. So you have to play with those numbers. That's the hard part. This is absolutely a decreasing tax levy and a decreasing, if not zero-based, increase for the community. So we hope people understand that the board struggles and trials over years and years, and these candidates, if you're elected, will do the same thing each year coming forward. So we thank everybody from listening from our live stream. We want to thank those that are in attendance tonight as well, and those that have submitted questions throughout the process. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our Meet the Candidates night. Good luck to all, and we hope to see everyone on May 18th. Thank you.